Welcome everyone back for another incredible episode of Wake Up and Dream. Um, Today we want to dive into a quote that, as a perfectionist myself, is a little bit difficult for me to wrap my head around, but I have been making such great progress with this personally. And there's still more work to be done. But the quote is just so perfect. And it's something that I need to remind myself of often. So the quote is, "Done is better than perfect." And it's by Sheryl Sandberg. And I actually want to turn the platform here over to Kelly because she has a very relatable story of something that just happened about 3 minutes ago. So Kelly, do you want to kick this off for us?
Oh my gosh, it's so funny, so frustrating, but just, I need to take a deep breath. Sarah and Lisa have been coaching me through this morning and the last few minutes to just take a deep breath because done is better than perfect. So, you guys, this is a new podcast for the three of us. We all are joining from different parts of the country: Wisconsin, New York, Kentucky. And there's a lot of technical pieces that come together when creating a podcast, and we're not in the same room. So we got microphones and AirPods and video and lighting. And as I log on every single time to record this podcast, my computer goes dead and turns off because I'm trying to get the mic to work, and it's so frustrating. I am that type of person that I don't like to inconvenience anybody. I don't like to be late to anything, and it just throws me off. I can't get into a good space, and I can't like feel good about what I'm doing if something is throwing me off. And so, yeah, this quote is like perfect for today. Done is better than perfect because, ladies, here we are. We are recording and it's fine, even though I feel like it isn't perfect and it didn't start out perfectly. But I think as women, as moms, we need to just give ourselves grace. We're trying it, we're doing new things, we're stepping out of our comfort zones, and it's okay to feel
That
frustrated.
is right. We are in process, and um I think back to way back when I was pregnant with our first, and we went to Lamaze class, and we learned how to breathe through through stress. And and I still to this day, my baby, my firstborn is 22, and I still say to myself, breathe, breathe, take a deep breath. And that Lamaze breathing, honestly, it served me through many of those stressful moments. But don't you think that we as moms and women, we desire to show up as our best. That's just who we are. You're not listening to this podcast if you're not wanting to grow and improve yourself. And when things don't go according to our plan, it can be really frustrating. For sure. For sure.
And Kelly, I just want to say that we can hear you. So that is just it's amazing in and of
Yay!
itself that we can actually hear
It's
you
so exciting.
because lip reading on this kind of platform doesn't really work that well. So before we actually went live, we were trying to read Kelly's lips, and Lisa's getting really good at that actually.
Yeah, yes, I am. In fact, that is a skill I'm working on. But let's dive in and let's talk about like perfectionism, because that we oftentimes, I guess I was under the belief that to show up as my best and to try to be perfect was actually a good thing, right? I mean, we kind of grow up, we get rewarded when we get 100% on our papers. We get the kudos and the praise when we do show up as that perfect accomplishment. But is that really serving us?
So one of the things that so I am a recovering perfectionist. That's how I'm gonna just coin myself that term. But Julie Ciardi often says that perfectionism is another form of procrastination. And that, when I first heard it, was like a punch in the gut. I was like, oh my God, I am putting things off because of my desire to be perfect. And I would, like you just said, Lisa, it was always something that, in an interview, people are like, what's your, like, one skill or whatever. And people like say perfectionism, I feel like, is thrown around a lot as more so of a positive thing than a negative thing. When if you flip it a little bit and you think about it from the perspective of, you're not taking action because of your desire to be perfect, it's actually not that much of a good thing, So I'm actually striving to recover from this concept of like being perfect, because taking action and doing the things and going on this podcast using a different microphone just because you couldn't get the other one to work and there's tech issues, done is better than perfect.
Absolutely. And it almost makes you feel better to just do it, just to do it imperfectly. Sarah and I are very similar in being Enneagram 9 and we've talked about this before a little bit because it slows us down when we want to be perfect and we want to have everything mapped out. We kind of classify ourselves in the sloth or Eeyore sort of way and personality, but it is just, I think, especially now being an adult, perfectionism looks different because we're not going to get an A plus or 100%. We're not in school. And I feel like sometimes our grade is based on, I don't know who's with me on this one, how many likes you get on social media, or who commented on your outfit that you posted your picture in, or like that's where you get that, I don't know, I don't know the word I'm thinking of, where you're just looking for that feeling that you've done it perfectly, that
Like
you've shown up.
approval or like,
Yeah,
yeah.
like you've done it perfectly and here you are. So this is your A plus from your math teacher. This is your 100%, from your gym teacher because you're posting, a workout of the day. And we don't have to be perfect. You show up as you and be authentic and true. And that's where I think you start to bloom and start to become that amazing woman that you were meant to be.
Totally agree. Totally agree. And I agree with the social media thing because I think, we want to put out our best. We want to show people our successes. But that's not real life. And that's not really like showing the growth that took us to get there, right? How many fails did we get before we had that perfect ending, so to speak? For me, I'm just gonna like be honest and say that like what I have grown in probably more in the last year is my awareness to how my people pleaser paradigm has very much mixed in with that perfectionism because I don't want to fail. I don't want to look like a failure in other people's eyes. And so because of that fear of what other people are going to think of me, it stopped me from taking action and stepping out of my comfort zone and maybe doing something a little, on the scary side. But I feel like because I know that about myself and I know that growth is only going to happen if I'm outside of my comfort zone taking action in that uncomfortable, scary, not perfectly laid out plan. um it's pushed me to go, yeah, but that's where I want to be. I want to fail forward because that's where my future best self is. Do you guys ever feel that way? Like too worried about what everybody else is thinking that you just kind of you stay stuck.
I can definitely relate to that feeling. And, when I started my network marketing business and having to be a little bit, it was an uncomfortable thing to start. There's stigmas around that model that I had to push past. And I had to take chances and do things that I didn't have mapped out perfectly in order to progress within network marketing. And like a year, I think it was just a year ago that I started my Facebook group and all these things. I started having more of a social media presence, and I didn't know what I was doing. I still don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm just kind of showing up and doing the best that I can, because if I want to get to this other point of my life and make progress, you have to take action. And you're the biggest critic of yourself, right? So I'm looking at that and I'm like, oh my God, I stuttered over my words, or I did this or that. And people aren't really paying that close of attention to all of those little details like you are. So you kind of just gotta go with it and let it go, just get it done.
I agree totally with starting a network marketing business. And I partner with an activewear company. And there was a lot of times where, and still, I go live on a video and I let people know about the clothing and what to wear and what size they should get. And the very first time I ever did that, I was scared to death. And I stood in front of my phone, ready to hit that live button to give them all the information. I've never done it before. And it took me a half an hour to hit that button to just go for it. And then once I did, it was freeing. Like, I was just like, I'd done this a million times. I just went for it. And I just wanted people to connect with me and not be like, oh, Kelly's perfect. She has the perfect outfit. Her hair's exactly on point. I didn't want that for my audience, for my customers, for my friends. I just wanted them to see me authentically jump into this new business and share something I love. And then after, it was like, so rewarding. I can still feel that feeling, and you can apply it to anything, not just a live video on social media, but maybe applying for that new job or getting married or, wanting to start a family or all these things. Like once you decide, it's like, oh my gosh, what took me so long? What took me so long to make this amazing decision? Why did I think it had to be perfect? Just do it. And it's so, I can't even describe that feeling. Maybe you guys have felt that too, and anything in your business as well. Just like, I did it. I did it. And that feels so, so good.
Totally agree. I mean, the feeling of like stepping out and doing it, like it's like what is the saying? You just need like 10 seconds of courage, right? 10 seconds of courage. And once you're like past that, it's like, yeah, what took me so long? I remember when I ziplined for the first time, I was scared to death, but it was that 10 seconds of courage and I loved the ride. Like that's so applicable to life, and I know there are women listening, whether they're, a stay-at-home mom or they're in a business themselves. We all have that desire to show up like we got our act together. And that vulnerability to really show our imperfections actually makes us more relatable, for
And
sure.
I feel like the anticipation of some of these things that you're talking about, whether it's ziplining or hitting live on Facebook or wherever, the anticipation is so much worse. And then you do it and you just feel, it's like a weight is lifted that you actually were able to show up in that way. But yeah, just the anticipation gets to you, when you have all of these feelings coming up. But yeah, I mean, once you actually take action, it's just a relief, and then you can feel proud about it.
Right. And inspire others, right? Like, oh, if Sarah can do it, if Lisa can do it, oh, Kelly made that look so easy. And not easy, but just like, oh, well, I know her. I know her personality. She's totally stepping out of her comfort zone. And that's where I feel like I just want to inspire
Yeah, and I
one more
totally like
woman.
totally. And I see that in even the people that I'm surrounded by is I am giving them advice differently, having gone through some of these things. So people that are a little bit nervous about going live on social media, I'm like, I get you. I did not want to do that at all. But now I feel like it's so much easier than like writing a post out, editing the post, trying to get the perfect words. It's like, let me just hop on live and tell people what I need to tell them. And it's just so different. My perspective has shifted so much that when I see people that I'm trying to help with whatever they're working through, I'm like, I get it, I understand, but this is what you need to do to work through that, and you'll feel better on the other side, you know?
Exactly, exactly. And don't you think that just knowing, just the sheer knowledge that you're not alone in that, and the empathy that we can give to each other, that's big, because I think perfectionism, honestly, if we like really peel back the onion, perfectionism is really pride. Like, it's pride. And when we think about it like that, then we're like, "Oh, yeah, you're right." It's like I'm wanting, to show up a certain way because of that inner pride that I don't really want there. So being that authentic self and showing up. So I'm curious for you guys, what's a like, what do you do when you're in that moment, when what advice would you offer to someone that struggles with perfectionism?
Honestly, don't think too much about it. Like, just go for it, because there's plenty of time to do it again or restart. It's just, honestly, it's that one first step. Doesn't matter what it is. Even Lisa, probably with you with the zip lining, like, it was just the anticipation of putting on the gear, or us creating a post, or who are we going to connect with next, or should I apply for this new job? For us, do we move across the country? It's like, just do it, and what's meant to be will be, right? I mean, whether you believe in God or the universe or wherever your beliefs go, but it's, don't sit still. Don't just sit here and wait for something. You've got to take the action, um, even when you don't want to, right? I mean, it's hard to do that. You can recognize your scared feelings and how you feel about the situation and your hesitation, but you really have to just take one more step. Being that person that you see yourself being 5 months, 8 months, 12 months from now, showing up as her already today and doing it imperfectly anyway, just one more step closer, because the more I do on a daily basis gives me that confidence to show others that they can do it too.
100%. Taking action is the way to do it, right? You have to just put yourself out there. One thing that helped me also with when I was going through all of these things is I actually had, it wasn't that quote, but I had like a quote about perfectionism. Progress over perfection. I don't think I still have it. Oh, progress, not perfection. I do. I have it on my board right behind me. And it was something that I kept, I switched it up. So that's why I wasn't sure if I changed it back. But it's something that I remind myself of often. And I just keep that reminder in front of my face, whether it's like, something pinned to my computer because I'm at my computer a lot throughout the day, or if you have something, a quote or a quick statement like that by your mirror, your bathroom mirror, that just helps you to take that action. Action is ultimately going to be the thing that gets you through it, gets you through those feelings, and gets you to that next level. But having reminders that are nearby to help you take that action was so key for me as I was working through a lot of these different things. And I still am, clearly, because I still have it on my board. So
I
And that's
love
an
that.
easy takeaway from today, of like having your quote or an inspirational go-to thing to look at every day. I love the mirror idea. I have it on my phone as the screensaver, like just to remind me every time you open your phone, something inspirational. I think that's great for our listeners to just take that one step to getting more confident to do it, and done is better than perfect.
Yes, 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 you are exactly right. And if I can add one more thing that I find really helpful, is I have um, one or two really close friends that I like to use as accountability partners. They're not going to hold my hand. They're not going to, oh, yeah, that's okay if you didn't do it. No, they're going to put me to the, fire and say, you got to do this. And if I ask them to hold me accountable, they will. Right. And I'm the Enneagram 2 wing 3. So I have some of that competitiveness in me. And so if I have someone, for instance, I started this healthy eating and exercise thing on Monday, and I'm doing it with a buddy. I'm doing it with someone, and we're snapping our pictures of our food and what we're doing after we exercise, da 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 da. But oftentimes I need that little push. Like, okay, she's going to ask me. She's going to ask me if I did it. And that has also helped me to like, yes, I got to do it because she's going to ask me. Because sometimes if I have the conversation only with myself, I can easily convince myself out of it, right? So having an outside person that's going to really help you to do that is another tip. I think we've given them some great tips on
And that was
taking action.
actually that was what we did for Kelly right before this episode, right, Lisa? We actually stepped
Yes.
in and we were talking through and kind of holding Kelly accountable that even though your sound is not perfect, you're showing up and we're getting it done and we don't need to lip read. So you're good to go, right? So I love that tip too.
Exactly. And we're so glad you all listened in today. We love connecting with our listeners. So be sure to check out the show notes, not only for the quote, but also ways to connect with us. Follow us on Instagram at Wake Up and Dream Podcast. And we look forward to another episode with you next week at Wake Up and Dream.